One. Okay, good evening, everyone. For our viewers and our listeners, welcome back to TheoTalks. To those who are wondering, what is TheoTalks? Theo came from the Greek word meaning God, and of course, we're talking about Him. And we're gonna talk about, the experiences of different people about the goodness of God. They're gonna share their testimonies and how God has saved them and has uplifted them. Okay, so tonight's special guest is another dear friend of mine. Okay, I met her in school, working school, not college or. I met her in school. She was a colleague of mine, and she's a very nice and sweet person that you can easily talk to, easily run to, and yeah, she's a very open person. She's a strong woman of faith, and I believe she has a lot of things that she will be sharing for you and me tonight. So sit back and relax and listen as we welcome Miss Evonne Young. Yay!
No.
Yay! Yeah, it's gonna be fine. All right. So, to make you relaxed, Yvonne, I'm just gonna ask a simple question first.
Yeah,
We're not gonna
sure. Go
jump
ahead.
into the nitty gritty. Okay. All right. So,
Yep.
Yvonne, can you tell us about yourself? Describe yourself. Who is
Okay.
Yvonne?
Yvonne is an ordinary girl. um, this feel like should I give like a formal answer or should I give like a casual answer? Like okay, so I am Yvonne. I I am born in a Christian family, grew up in a Christian family, and a very typical um a very typical second generation Christian who who go actually far beyond that. Like when I was a kid, when I
Mm,
go for Sunday school, and my parents sent me to Sunday school. I didn't just attend one Sunday school, and there's like two
mm,
congregation in my church, so I
mm,
attended both Sunday school. So every week is like, every week attending two Sunday school classes, one English, one
mm,
Mandarin. And my parents' purpose was for me to go and learn English. That's why. So having
mm,
like growing up in such a family, you know a lot about God, you know a lot about Christ, know a lot about story, the Bible story, and all. And
mm,
I guess that's also partly because I'm growing up in such an environment, and that builds up a
mm,
lot of ego in me. So like how you describe me as a sweet, easily talk, is someone easily talk to. I wasn't, as far as I can remember when I was a kid, I'm like a spoiled brat, man. Like
mm,
I am a person who I would just throw tantrum to seek for attention. I am,
mm,
and right now, even right now, I mean, not completely like that, but I'm still a very stubborn person. I'm still a very, we call it escasu, like fear of failure. Like always want to
mm,
win, a high achiever, always want things to
mm,
be perfect, to be in my way, and
mm,
very organized person. Want things to really like plan. So I'm
mm.
that kind of person. Yeah.
That's nice. God has really transformed you. Yeah, because God transforms people not in an instant, right? It's a step by step process, and it's
Mm,
sometimes
mm,
painful, but in the end, it's really very worth it. So you mentioned that you're a second generation Christian.
mm.
Okay, so your parents were the first generation Christians. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, can you tell us the story how your parents became Christians?
If I can recall, I think was I remember. Okay, so my mom was working as a like a like she was working with a family, and that
Mm-hmm.
family was Christian. That was before meeting my dad. So she was working with that family, and that family was Christian, and she get to know about God from the family. So that's where she started, reading Bible, go to church and all. But in terms of faith and how to pray, it's still very weak. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the time where my parents are more consistent, like even when they get married, they weren't a Christian. It's just my mom, and but it's not
Mm-mm.
a constant church goer. And then it was, I think after my elder sister born, and that's where my mom started going back to church. So and then my mom went to church first, and then my dad still not. I think it's around
Mm-mm.
when before I was born, somewhere around during that time. Then only my dad started going to church with my mom. So that's where they baptize, they they get to know Christ and all that. Yeah. Mm.
Oh, that's
So
very
yeah.
nice. Mm. Yeah, you can really see it takes time for transformation and to really be, committed to the Lord.
Mm.
So for you, can you share us your salvation story? I know, there's a notion that when you're born in a Christian family, you're automatically Christian. So let's
Mm.
break that stereotype to our viewers that even if you are born in a Christian family, it is still your decision whether you will have a personal relationship with Christ or not. Because it's individual. Salvation
Mm.
is a gift for everyone. So for you, Yvonne, can you share us your salvation story?
Okay. Being a second generation Christian, this is a very tough question. It's like, where is the turning point, right? Like,
Mm.
I have been trying to think, like, which is the turning point. There wasn't really like a clear turning point for me, but
Mm-hmm.
rather it's, like, you have the knowledge about God, you know about God because
Mm-mm.
you grew up in such an environment, right? Then
Mm-hmm.
I think along the way, when I was a kid, I learned to, whenever I have whenever exam coming up, then we learn to pray for exam, pray for good result.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was in, so we have a major exam in standard six. We call it UPSR back then. And I was in the first class. Like first class, teachers will automatically, assume, okay, everybody, your target is to get straight A's. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
my target is also to get straight A's as a high achiever, right? Always, like,
Mm-hmm.
to me, it's like, okay, straight A shouldn't be like a big problem. So because it's like very common in that class, everybody got straight A. If you don't get straight
Mm-mm.
A, you are the abnormal one lah, so called. So and so I was, like, as usual, I was just praying. And if you remember, I mentioned that I'm also a person that's quite proud
Mm-hmm.
and ego. And like I say, everything is in my control. Everything, I'm very sure I can ace in my exam and all. But it didn't turn out in that way. And I, in the end, like, out of seven, was it seven subject? I got like seven or six subject. I got like five. So I didn't get like full A's lah. And
Mm-hmm.
to get five, it's actually considered, like, in class, right? If you get five A's, that
Mm-hmm.
means like two subjects, then get A, I think, if I remember correctly. It's like you're considered really, like, not that good already. Then I wanted to go into like the high school that I wanted to go into, a secondary school that I wanted to go to, but I
Mm-mm.
couldn't go because partly because of my result. And
Mm-mm.
so to me, that is like the first failure in life. It's not like really the failure, but to me, as a person who is always wanted to achieve that much, that is
Mm-mm.
considered like my first failure in life. And but then I have a mom who noticed this thing about me, like this weakness about me, that I'm always, very ego and things like that. And so she wanted to sharpen me, like shape me a little bit. So I
Mm-hmm.
told my mom, like, okay, I'm going to just go into this normal government school first, to just go into this school. And after maybe 1 year, few years, 1 year or 2 years, then can we try to apply to another school? So,
Mm-hmm.
so my mom said, yeah, go ahead first. My mom is always very chill. She will be always supportive. I am the one that deciding what school that I want to go to at the age of 12. So she would just let me choose. And of course I went into a normal school. And you know how your friends, the competitiveness is no longer as high
Mm-hmm.
as when I was in primary school. When I was all this while from standard one to standard six, I was in the first class. And when I
Mm-hmm.
was in secondary school, I was started off in third class, I think. Then after that, I was moved to the first class, and then throughout the year, I was in the first class. But I'm not like no longer like the best. So, I'm still
Mm-hmm.
always praying to God, God, I want to get straight A, I want to get straight A, I want to get straight A. That's like my aim of life. And
Mm-hmm.
and God never answered that prayer.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that is how he shaped me lah, and my
Mm-hmm.
personality. So that's why you say the turning point, right? It didn't happen like in 1 year and one shot. You know how people say, oh, in that night I meet God. I don't have that kind of experience. It's just
Mm-hmm.
throughout when I look back. So in my standard six exam, I didn't get straight A. In my
Mm-hmm.
form three we have another major exam back then. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't get straight A also. And it's really
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, two subjects didn't get A, same as what happened in standard six. And then when I
Mm-hmm.
was in form five, another major exam, I didn't get straight A as well. So
Mm-hmm.
God is literally not giving me what I want. I guess. But I was also gradually, because it's already not the first time. So
Mm-hmm.
it was sad, but it was not that sad. And eventually,
Mm-hmm.
I entered from six again. Oh, and I was coming back. I said I wanted to change school, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the end, I decided not to change school because I already have friends there. So there's no point
Mm-hmm.
of changing. So that is how amazing God is working. Like, in a way, I just accept things that it is. And then it's like it's a slow process until
Mm-hmm.
when I enter from six. So I went in
Mm-hmm.
from six, and that was the very first time that I failed, like really, really failing in all my subjects.
Mm-hmm.
I almost cannot enter because Form 6 is like a foundation, like a pre-university before going into
Mm-hmm.
university. So I was really failing. Like my CGPA is like 2 was it it's 1 point, so the passing point is 2.0. I think I got
Mm-hmm.
1.9 something. I literally didn't
Oh.
pass. It is that bad. And but surprisingly it didn't upset me, like
Uh-huh.
again, like I say, I always wanted my result to be
Mm-hmm.
good. But taking form 6, and how
Mm-hmm.
everybody is saying, form 6 is the toughest exam, it's the hardest exam compared to the rest. It's very hard for you to go into government university.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really like, go into form 6, I almost didn't pass, but really by God
Mm.
grace, uh,
Yes.
because I took the requirement to enter a psychology degree is to get at
Mm.
least 2 credits, I think, and
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 credits. I have 2 credits, but I did not pass my CGPA, so I can still
Mm-hmm.
barely manage to enter university. So,
Mm-hmm.
but to think about it, it's like when I was in standard six, I cry over result not getting a straight A. But when I was in form
Mm-hmm.
six, and that was like 6 years later, it was like I was very happy throughout that 1 year of study. Though I always fail in my exam, but I have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of fun. Like I have a
Mm-hmm.
group of like really close friends, and even right now we are still very close. And I
Mm-hmm.
joined a lot of extracurricular activities and was very active during that time, which is not the same when I was in before. So I guess to just looking back at it, how God actually, like to really train me not to be so ego, the whole process.
Mm.
Yeah. And
Yes.
I think if it's not because of that process, you won't be able to see who I am right now today, doing
Mm-hmm.
what I am today as well. Yeah.
Wow. It truly the turning point and the transformation process is not just a day, a two, sometimes years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to our viewers, hello. I am seeing a lot of live chats here right now. Like, hi, mommy. Okay, so for our for our viewers, if you have any questions for our guest speaker, just type it in the live chat. I will read it out to her, and she will happily answer your questions. We are opening the floor for questions, so just type your question in the chat box. Okay. Now, going back, so that was your story on how you were transformed, how the Lord has pulled you
Mm,
back. Like, because in the Bible it says He will prune us. He will remove the branches from us that are not really, that are dying, are
mm,
withering. So with what happened to Yvonne is, it took time for the gardener, which is God, to, snip here, snip there. And yes, we can see the result right now of God's pruning, of God's workmanship. She is here right now with us, and she is sharing her wonderful story to everyone who is listening. And praise God for that. Yeah. So, my next question would be um, after you've turned back to God, could you tell us like an instance or a story where the story of your walk with God, like how is it?
Mm. Mm. Speaking of like turning back to God, right? It is not just
Mm.
one incident. There's a lot of
Mm.
incidents where
Mm.
people say there's a backsliding Christian,
Mm.
where
Mm.
there are times that you are so discouraged, so demotivated to even read the Bible. I have a lot of
Mm.
instances like that, and
Mm.
I guess a lot of things to share about. I think I will focus more on what happened in this pandemic, especially.
Mm.
Like I said, God is training me, and He doesn't just train me in a day. It took me years, and even
Mm.
right now, at this point of time, I am still stubborn. I still want things to be as my way. Somehow I still want things to be planned, and I definitely
Mm.
prefer certain than uncertain. I like to take risks, but I also want the comfort, the no sense of what is that sense of comfort, the safety, the
Mm.
security. Yeah. So what happened last year was okay. So last year, right before the pandemic, around March,
Mm.
um, it was around March. I remember 1 week before the pandemic. So me and my current fiance, then boyfriend, we went to meet because both of us are from different church. And I remember the
Mm.
week before the first lockdown, we went to meet his pastor to talk about, we finally wanted to talk about like wedding plan and all. So we
Mm.
met the pastor that week, just talk about it. So we started, kickstart our wedding plan. But then after that, after 1 week, they announced the lockdown, the first lockdown.
Mm.
So during the lockdown, so it was during March, right? A lot of things
Mm.
happened. So in
Yeah.
March, when lockdown happened, I am also currently studying a master in counseling. So because of
Mm.
the lockdown, again, I plan. I'm a person who plan like
Mm.
my 3 years plan, my 5 years plan, my 10 years plan. So I also have a plan. I am almost finishing my master study, and I now left with internship. So last year I was supposed to do my practicum. I
Mm.
registered in January, but because of the lockdown, I have to postpone. I planned to
Mm.
finish in June. I couldn't finish in June. It was postponed to the whole year. I finished in December. So
Mm.
what happened was because of the lockdown, I have to postpone my study. And there's also a major incident that happened to my fiance during that particular moment where because he was working in oil and gas industry, and oil and gas
Mm.
was being affected greatly because of the pandemic.
Mm.
And
Mm.
because during that time, he also just recently changed to a new job. So
Mm.
it's very unstable. You just change to a new job, and a lot of question. Like because we pray for a new job, and God opened this door, and he entered into this new career, but
Mm.
the pandemic happened, and the whole industry is shaking. So during that time, he was uh, he was affected, like emotionally affected very much to the extent that he was he couldn't sleep, he couldn't eat. So it was to the end that he has to, like considering to see a psychiatrist, take medication. So
Mm.
during that time, it's a very, like, yes, he is going through something. Technically,
Mm.
I am not the one who going through all these
Mm.
things, but it affected me in the sense because having to cope with my own emotion with my study being postponed and all, and then my work at the same time. And then when this thing happened, it actually challenged my belief value, because as someone, because my major is master in counseling. So
Mm.
and master in counseling, I took psychology before this. So for us, right, for us, compared to psychiatry, so psychiatry is a medical field, right? So most of
Mm.
our the psychology people, psychology counseling students, we will always have that kind of perception that whenever you have something, go and seek for therapy first. Go and
Mm.
talk to someone first before you decided to take medication, because medication is always like when the symptoms cannot be controlled, and when there
Mm.
is something more severe, then you need medication to control. So it was a very hard time, because even his parents messaged me and asked for opinion. So they were asking,
Mm.
and looking at him, suffering right now. He cannot sleep, cannot eat. It's like the emotional is just very unstable. What should we do? And his parent asking me for advice, and
Mm.
I do not know what to say. Of course, my the first response I would say, just observe for a few days first, and then we will decide, right? And
Mm.
but in my heart, I'm like, no, it's a no to go and
Mm.
see a psychiatrist until you really go and seek, talk to someone first. And if it just doesn't help, then maybe you should go for medication. But in the end, I remember that I remember it was a Friday.
Mm.
The like his mother just decided, and just let me know that they are going to see a doctor and something like that. So
Mm.
I was struggled during that time. I actually didn't tell him. I don't think he know about this. First time sharing on air focus. So it was yeah. So I in the end, of course, I say yes, and just because taking medication is completely contradict with my belief, my value, my conscience, all this thing, and I strongly disagree with all this kind of thing lah. But then when you really just think about it, if let's say he is not my fiance, if uh he is my client, what would I advise, right? So in the
Mm.
end, it's really the client's choice. It's really his choice and not my choice. So of course, in the end, I say yeah, just company. I wasn't able to go with him because it was a work day, and but I
Mm.
met him the next day. So I went to see him the
Mm.
next day. Yeah. I remember after seeing him the next day, the moment when I came back, I broke down. Like I was really like crying and really like asking like I was talking to my mom, because I think only my mom know about all this thing. So I was talking to him talking to my mom about all this thing, and I was like I cannot accept this. Like, what should I do next? And
Mm.
and in our mindset, it's always, when you start to take medication, you do not just stop medication immediately. So definitely it will
Mm.
take time. So that
Yes.
was a hard time lah. But I thank God, that night after the breakdown, after crying to God, asking a lot of why and all. In the end, I also questioned myself whether are we really like, can I really accept a partner who is mentally unstable, mentally ill, and need to take medication? So that was like a big question for me during that time, because I'm also a person who thinks a lot. So
Mm.
but then I thank God, because during that night after the breakdown, there wasn't any breakdown anymore after that. So throughout that period of time, right, it was in June when that happened, and
Mm.
he was with his medication. Symptoms were
Mm.
better, so much better. And of course, my thought is still like, okay, you still have to take medication for quite some time. But I keep reminding him, you just don't depend on the medication. Lah. And
Mm.
I'm really thankful during that time as well. Every night we video call each other, we pray. And there was this night I remember where I came across the song Waymaker. So
Ah.
yeah,
Yes.
so I shared this song with him, and we were just worshiping that night. And yeah, and just it was very touched like that night. Both of us are crying, and I was very touched. I can still remember how it feels, and the lyrics, each every sentences of the lyrics actually speak. Yeah,
Mm.
so it's that that moment where even though it's tough, but
Mm.
you know that God is there, and it's real,
Mm.
very very real. Yeah, getting emotional. So
It's okay.
so good thing is that it didn't take very long time. He didn't continue. I think he went back and see a doctor once, And after that, he stopped medication. After he finished, he didn't wanted to go back and see the doctor anymore, and everything was under control. And along that time, also we were praying for his job. To
Mm.
we were still questioning to God, why put him in this position where the whole industry is not stable, and right now we are both not stable. And then
Mm.
it was hard, and then but thank God, I think towards the end of last year, he managed to get a new job. We also pray about
Wow.
it, and his
Mm-hmm.
salary wasn't salary, of course, expected salary wasn't what he wanted, but it is a
Mm-hmm.
much more stable job, and he feel more
Mm.
comfortable with it. And you know how God is so amazing that he even prepared a part-time job. My boyfriend started to venture into like Shopee business and all, and
Mm.
the amount, even though the job that he got, the salary was slightly lower than what he was
Lower.
expecting.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, but then with both the job, like both his part time and his full time, adding together is really far more than what we have prayed for. So it was really, really amazing lah, in that sense. And of course we
Wow.
are glad that everything is fine until end of the year.
Mm.
We didn't plan for our wedding at all last year because of the whole pandemic and because of what's going on. And yeah, so that was the first part of the story. So there was a second part of the story.
Can we have the part two?
So the first part ended in December, where we think, okay,
Uh-huh.
things is going smoother, settle and all. And then when
Mm.
enter into beginning of this year, in
Mm.
January, so I think starting from December, the cases increases again, if you can
Mm.
recall. Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes.
in January, because I'm currently working in an NGO that we serve
Mm.
the underprivileged, the refugees, the undocumented one. It's a school, so we do provide education for them. And because of the pandemic, we cannot, how government announced school should close down. So this is
Yes.
what my boss did. So my boss
Mm.
just decided that let's do a boarding school program because we
Mm.
cannot afford to have students going back and coming back with the risk of COVID. Then
Mm-hmm.
that will put the student in risk and putting us, the teachers, at risk as well. So if the student coming in for a boarding program, teachers, you will have to stay in with the student as well. So
Wow.
yeah, so that is my career part, right? So when
Mm-hmm.
um, so starting from January, when government announced that school should close down, something like that, then we started off this. So all our students and the teachers, we get tested, and only if you get negative, then only you can join the boarding. So I was staying in school. I only get like probably 1 or 2 days of off day, like in 2 weeks, 3 weeks time, just to come back. So um, so yeah, during the time I was just staying with them, and then
Mm-hmm.
in it was tough lah because it's a whole new thing that you need to adapt. It's a very
Mm.
high commitment that you need to stay together with the student. It's literally like a caretaker, not just a teacher anymore. It's
Mm.
like a caretaker, so you need to take care of them. You need to make sure that they eat. You need to cook with them, eat with them, sleep with them.
You
So all these
instantly became
things,
a mom.
yes, instantly became a mom. So yeah, and I don't know, maybe it's part of training, how God want to train me to be a mom,
Mm.
right? I don't know.
Yes, yes, definitely.
So in I was engaged in February, and
Mm.
the timing was just nice as well because I get my off day during the Chinese New Year break, and I was engaged during that time, uh, and luckily he proposed. Luckily he
Mm.
proposed because right after 1 week he proposed, I went back to school, right? Continue with the live-in program. I was hoping that okay, it will be ending soon, but no.
Mm.
So my boss just came in. This is not very conducive environment for our kids to be in a building, and it doesn't really help a
Mm.
lot. So
Mm.
their suggestion was like, why not all of you go to Bantong. We have a farm school in Bantong, but
Mm.
the project hasn't started yet. So
Mm.
the piece of land is overgrown a lot. So my boss is like, you guys and the kids go over there and you will manage the land. you guys will have to start up everything as the pioneer of the farm
Wow.
school. Then we were like, wow, being a teacher is literally training you to be a mom, to be a farmer
Mm-hmm.
right now, to be someone
Mm-hmm.
to, to clear the overgrown place, the land and all. So like I said, after 1 week, after the proposal, after 1 week after the proposal, I was called to go outstation, and it's
Mm.
going to be like until May, until mid of May.
Mm-mm.
So, in February after the proposal, we wanted to continue to plan for our wedding. And
Mm-hmm.
and then because I have to go outstation, and that is not a place where, how people will say, yeah, you can still go and then still plan your wedding. It's not as easy because that place, right? It doesn't have network coverage. It's bad.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
when I was there, I think I only managed to call my parents and my fiance for like maybe once a week when during my off day when I'm out of that place when I'm in town. So it
Mm-hmm.
is like that lah. So couldn't really plan because right now adding on your job as a mom, you are right now you have to deal with the gardening, the farming thing as well. It's a lot of like learning, putting me,
Mm.
a city girl to a farm. Like I am okay with camp and all, but it's literally a whole new thing for me lah. The whole
Mm.
career wise, and in terms of study as well. I say so. I
Mm-mm.
finished my practicum end of December. So
Mm-mm.
supposedly January I actually paid for my school fees. I paid to
Mm-hmm.
take my final semester. I just finished with my internship, then I'm all done and I can graduate. So I paid about 3K and
Mm-hmm.
for to enroll for that subject, and I already planned. But because I have to go to Bentong and because of the limitation, like I couldn't really collect face-to-face counseling hours as well. So I actually signed a contract already to do internship at my organization, but I couldn't. So I have to burn the
Mm-mm.
contract. I have to burn the 3K just to defer a
Ah.
semester. Yeah, so that
Mm-hmm.
is really like, wow, I say, God, this is so fun, like I have everything planned. I really try to plan
Mm.
according to the pandemic and the changes. I'm trying to plan everything, okay? And right now you just decided to come into my life and just scramble everything around and telling me
Mm.
that I'm in charge, not you, So yeah, so during that time, so between March to May, couldn't plan wedding, but I was looking forward to May because I will have a long break. Then, coming back, then we can start to finally plan for our wedding, which is
Mm-hmm.
supposed to happen in October. Supposed to lah. Okay. So,
Mm-hmm.
so when I came back, I managed to came back. The camp ended earlier. It's supposed to be mid of May, but we came back earlier because concerning that there might be a lockdown. So we want to
Mm.
come back before another lockdown. So I came
Mm-hmm.
back and I came back. I met with my fiance, and I think then they announced 2 days later there would be a lockdown. So
Wow.
it was like, wow, what is this, right? So so of course, definitely, yeah. So obviously, the
Mm.
whole wedding plan we couldn't do anything despite me having a whole
Mm.
month break. We couldn't do much, and yeah, and even until right now. And of course, during that period of time, it's quite recent, right? May to June. I argue with my
Mm-mm.
fiance a lot as well. I argue with him,
Mm-mm.
and you will have that kind like emotionally, it's very hard to cope. A lot of
Mm-mm.
things being like suppressed throughout the pandemic, a lot of feelings being suppressed, and
Mm.
it's really like showing up right now, that I cannot cope anymore with the situation. I just cannot.
Mm-hmm.
Too much changes,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not the person who like to change so much. And there's too
Mm.
much of changes ever since like beginning of the year. So
Mm.
like, but then after a few arguments, after a lot of questioning, I know, God, you don't want me to get married, is it? Like, what?
No.
Like, that kind of question is very common, you will have that kind of
Mm.
thought, and
Mm-mm.
yeah, like it's still going on, it's still ongoing, but emotionally wise, I am more calm right now, more stable right
Mm.
now. I have a very calm and
Mm-mm.
very stable fiance lah. So and my
Mm-mm.
family has been very supportive as well. So And during this time, it's just okay. We can't plan anything. Then just let whatever thing happen, let it happen, and let it be. So we
Mm-hmm.
stop planning. Like literally, we are not planning anymore. We are not even talking about wedding plans. And the like anytime
Mm-hmm.
that we want to talk, also we don't know what to talk. Like yes, we tried. We thought about our dream wedding, and then we talk about okay, because of the pandemic, let's make it a smaller scale. But right now, to
Mm.
make a smaller scale, to register, to even go to the registration office to register, it's
Yeah. Mm.
yeah, it cannot be done. And I can't
Mm.
even meet him. Like we haven't been meeting each other since May. So
Wow.
yeah, so it was really like that. And but both of us, we are still glad, and that there is a peace lah,
Mm.
in heart, and knowing that God will have a better plan. It's really, I just gave up completely. I say, God,
Mm.
you plan it, okay? Because I plan too much and the thing is not going according to what I want. So
Mm-hmm.
you take it, yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
so that's the part two and still ongoing story lah.
Wow, we can actually see how, God is moving. You mentioned the song earlier, Waymaker. To those who don't know the song, there's one part there that says, in the bridge of the song, it says, even when I don't see you, you're
You're working.
working. Even
Mm,
when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop, you never stop. And what happened to my dear sister for the past year is really a testimony that we feel that God is silent. But
mm,
I'm always mentioning this when I'm sharing that when you're in an exam room, the teacher is there. You're taking the exam, but the teacher is quiet. You
mm,
just take your exam, even though no matter how hard or how easy it is, you just quietly take it. If you can't take it anymore, you can always raise your hand, teacher. I really don't know this. So,
mm,
you can always call on the Lord every time, anytime, and He will approach you. And according to the Bible, it says that His ways and His thoughts are higher than ours. So,
mm,
no matter how many times we plan, no matter how many times we think about how it will flow, but
mm.
when God says nope, I have something better planned for you, we want that. We would love that because He's God, He's our Father. When He gives us, we it will really leave us astounded, like, wow,
Yes.
God, this is really your plan for me. I didn't know. Like, wow. And then looking back in our past experiences, when we just remember how He has moved and His goodness, and we will see that if it wasn't for that experience, if it wasn't for that struggle, I won't be here where I'm currently in. I won't be as strong as I am right now, or my faith wouldn't be as stable or as strong compared, a year ago or 2 to 3 years ago. And definitely, that's a powerful testimony, Yvonne. Yeah. You're a strong woman of faith. Salute. Okay. Um. All right. For my next question, I
Yes.
the moment that you said fiance, I was curious a while ago. How did you meet your boyfriend? Your current fiance? I know our viewers would love to hear it because I have viewers from Malaysia. I have viewers from the Philippines. So we would like to hear your love story. How did you meet him?
Um, it was not a very fancy, dramatic love story. Like it
Mm,
happened very naturally. Okay, back to me as a person, right? I am, like I say, I plan everything. I want
mm,
everything according to my plan, right? I actually have
mm,
a list of what I want in
mm.
an ideal partner, a future partner. So I have a list of literally age, range, like
Uh-huh.
uh, height, the range lah. Okay, not a
In
specific height,
short, you
but
have
it was
an
a
ideal man.
range. Yes, yes, and then all the characteristic. Okay,
Uh-huh.
so it was all listed down,
Mm.
and I remember we both met each other. We get to know each other from a church event. It's like I say,
Mm.
both of us are from different church. So I was in the youth ministry back then, and he was part of the organizing committee in one of the youth event thingy, and I was a representative of my church lah. So I do join meetings once in a while just to get updates. So I've been joining that because it's a yearly thing. So that event happens
Mm.
a few years, and I think I joined for 2 years. And the so that means we have been seeing each other for about 1 year. Like seeing, but I
Mm.
don't know him. Like as in like I know this person, but never thought anything further. And he know me, but he
Mm.
didn't think of anything further. So happened very naturally. Like I think it was the end of it was the last year of that event. Then after that, the event was called it an off lah, an ending, and there wasn't really like another in the following year. So it was like that particular year in 2017. Yeah.
Mm.
So started naturally like he added me in Facebook, and then we started talking to each other, and he added me and he followed me on Instagram, and then he would comment, on pictures, stories, and all. The conversation started like that. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
wasn't suspecting anything, wasn't even thinking or considering, at the particular time that this person is a potential one. No,
Mm.
because I remember that year itself, I wasn't planning to join the youth camp thingy. Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't thinking to join that because of my work commitment, and I've been always be very busy, so I didn't want to serve. I just tell my youth lah, like you guys go ahead, but I'm not going to bring.
Mm.
I might not be able to go with you on that day itself. Okay, you have to plan it out lah. Then, but then I think it's really everything under God's plan. So
Mm.
there was one of this worship team that the worship team one of the worship team leader came to my church during that time, and she was looking for a pianist, looking for a keyboardist to serve
Mm.
during that 2 or 3 nights,
Mm-hmm.
the service during that service of that youth event thing. And like she came, like the worship leader came to our church to share in that particular Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
and I was serving that Sunday. So after that, we know each other, and after the service, she came to me and said, "You know what? We are looking for keyboardists. Why not you come and join us?" Then I said, "But I cannot commit. Like I cannot commit for a whole day because it's a whole day thing." Then she said,
Mm-hmm.
"It's okay. You just come for that night. If you can commit only nighttime, then you just come for that night." Then I say,
Mm.
all right, I'll take it lah. Okay, if it's just to serve then the few nights, right? Then I'm fine with that. So I take it. And I'm glad that I take it. If I didn't take it, then the conversation and getting to know him won't happen. All right. So,
Aw.
so it was because it's a whole year planning. They planned from the beginning of the year,
Mm.
and the event happened before Christmas. So
Mm.
yeah, and then that's how we started talking to each other by towards the around October or November. We started talking to each other, and we started going out around. First time going out after the event ended. So the next day we went to this Big Bad Wolf book fair,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, and then we started going out, and yeah, and then going out more frequently, and then eventually he confessed. And like I say, I'm a person who I think a lot. So even
Uh-huh.
when that day when I don't think he know about this story also. Like I was before he confessed, so we have been going out for about once a week, quite frequent, once a
Mm.
week. So around like mid of January, the following year, January 2018, I was like, if I keep going out with this person and he's not taking any move, then let's call it a stop. So, and then I am a very, like, this is how I always make my prayer, about relationship. I would say, God, if this is not your will, if this is not the man that you prepared for me, take him away, okay? Because I don't want to
Mm.
have any emotionally being attached. I'm a very, very,
Mm-hmm.
very easily attached person. So
Mm-hmm.
I say, if it's not, then just take it away. But if it's your will, then God, you show something. So it was
Mm-hmm.
after that he started showing some sign in his text lah. Okay, and that was like,
Mm.
wow, okay. And but then after some time, you still feel like, okay, this is really like still very not sure, right? Then
Mm. Mm.
I continue. I was still praying, I think I took out a uh, devotion series. So it was like a 2 weeks praying or something like that. So he confessed in February, early February. So he confessed. I remember that day when he confessed, I didn't say yes because I haven't heard a
Mm.
very clear yes from God yet. And I am that
Mhm.
particular. I say, God, this is my future. And because it's first love, like literally the first person. And
Yep.
I was like, God, I need a confirm yes.
Mhm.
I don't want to go through the process of emotionally attached and then have to separate and that kind of thing. I don't want
Mhm.
that. So and so I didn't say yes to him on that day when he confessed. It was really after my praying and God showed me again speak to me through my devotion passage and all. It's really confirmation after confirmation. Then I'm
Mhm.
like, okay. Then I told him, but then I was telling him, like, I say, if it's a yes from God, then we will, I will agree to go out with you on Valentine's Day because it was approaching Valentine's Day
Mhm.
during that time as well.
Mhm.
And then another thing happened was it was confirmation already, right? So I
Uh-huh.
my heart is like, okay, it's a yes already. Then
Mm.
but then because during that time he always travel outstation, so he
Mhm.
went to Terengganu during that time, and he was quite nervous. Like he told me he might not be able to come back during the Valentine's Day. He was asking that time. I
Mm.
already kind of telling him a yes, just like
Mhm.
hidden sign of yes, yes. Then he was like he might not be able to come back on that time, and but then I remember he went over there, and because of like the procedure or something, he couldn't go offshore. I think because of
Mm.
the document. I think the first day he said his name was not in the list, and then second day there was a typo in his name or something like that.
Mhm.
So in the end, it's also approaching Chinese New Year. So it's either he come
Mm.
back and wait, postpone the whole thing, or he just stay there until everything can be done.
Mm.
So he checked with his supervisor and everything, and supervisor said, you know what, you don't have to wait, just come back. So he managed to come back, and we managed to celebrate Valentine's together. So everything was just in place, and yeah, yep. So that
Mhm.
is how we know each other.
And the ball kept on rolling and rolling and rolling until
Yes,
it
yeah,
became a big
yeah.
snowball.
Yeah.
That's
And
nice.
speaking of the list of ideal men, right? So
Mm.
I actually cross-checked with it. It is not 100%, but because some of the
Uh-huh.
characteristics you don't see it in a person in that few months, right? So it was really like 90% pass,
Mm.
A plus. Okay. So
Still
yeah.
okay. If he's listening right now, hi, we're talking about you. So yes, if we have single men and women in our viewers, pray for your future spouse. Pray for your future partner. It's never too early, it's never too late. I started praying for, my future boyfriend when I was in high school. I made a deal actually with God that, Lord, if you're gonna give me a boyfriend, he should be the one that I'm gonna marry because I don't want to go through that breakups and healing
Yes,
because it's
yes,
too
yes.
much. It's gonna be too much. Just focus with, Lord, one. And I waited until I was 28 years old, and that will be in another story, not now.
Yes, yes, she has more interesting story than mine.
Hey, your stories are also very interesting. All right, so my second to the last question. I know everyone has their own life verse, or a couple of verses that they're really holding on to. So, how about you? Do you have a specific verse that, you're always carrying around with you?
Um, a lot. I think the one that
Mm.
I always use it's by faith, not by sight. That
Mm.
is one, and then there's another one that recently that I hold up to a lot. It's Proverbs, from Proverbs 19:21. Many
Mm.
are the plans in a man's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. So I think that is like a constant. reminder that it
Mm-mm.
is not like I might have a lot of plan in mind. I might want things according to my plan, but what exactly is God's purpose in my life and what He
Mm-hmm.
wants me to do in my life? Because I can say, if in terms of career wise, it is not something that I want to do. Raquel, you know me, okay? You know that
Yep.
I want to be a counselor. I never want to be a teacher, but look at what am I
Mm-hmm.
doing right now. But what God is showing me is not just, yes, I am a teacher, but like I say, my work teacher wise probably is just the 40% of it, and the 60% is really like to serve the needy, those who really need, those who are really in need and are really broken, I would say. And there's
Mm-hmm.
another verse, not verse, a quote from the founder of World Vision, from
Mm.
Robert Pierce. Let my heart be broken with the things that break the hearts of Lord. I think that itself, I always, it's a very contradicting. I'm a person that always want to plan, right? I always
Mm.
want things my way. But at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
I'm also praying that God, you break my heart, okay? That, break my heart for the things that break your heart so that I see it, I feel
Mm-mm.
it, I know what is your will, what you actually want me to do, and I think that's why I say it's a constant process where God is training me in different way. And but I'm
Mm-mm.
glad that right now in my job, it's tough, it's challenging, but I
Mm-mm.
can really see how God is doing things in my life, lah. And I would
Mm-mm.
say rather than I am teaching and serving this group of people, I learn a lot from my student. I
Mm-mm.
learn a lot from their life and all. So it was, yeah.
Amen. Amen. That is a very nice verse. Proverbs 19:21. So if you have your Bibles with you, you can also search that or maybe online. So my final question for you, it's not actually a question, but maybe there are some of our viewers who are experiencing the same thing like you or similar. Some are, planning ahead, but then suddenly God says, nope, this is another way. Um, words of encouragement.
I think words of encouragement would be in the midst of this pandemic. It is hard for everybody. It is very, very hard for everybody. Very challenging, very hard. Whether financially being affected, your job being affected, mental health being affected. Just do not lose hope, lah. Because regardless the situation right now, like today's case is like 8,000 plus,
8,000. Yeah.
and every day, literally every day, we are seeing this. And as much as we want to blame people, uh, we
Mm,
really can't. There's no point of blaming. Just if you are a non-Christian, if you're a non-believer, yet to believe, yet to know who Jesus is, um, I think take it a try in times where you are really despair, and when you are really at the, you no longer know what to do, you don't know what's
mm,
next, you are really, depressed, despair, devastated, feeling, there's nothing to hope for anymore. Why not just try, just take it a try to just ask, if there is a God, can you help me? No,
mm,
I'm sure God will listen to prayer. Just take it a try,
mm,
and it doesn't harm you anything. It doesn't cost you anything. Just ask
mm,
if there is a God, if there is Jesus, and tell me what I should do. Show me the way.
mm,
You never know, you might get an answer from Him. And
mm,
for Christian who are listening, and if you are a backsliding Christian, or you just feel discouraged because of what's going on right now, just know that you are not alone. Because even me, even Raquel, both of us, we have been through times where we are just, trying to cope. And like what we shared earlier as well, even though you feel like God is not listening, but He is always, always there. And I think there's a Bible
mm,
verse that also say that, when you ask, then it shall be given to you. And when you find,
mm,
when you seek, then you will find. You knock, and doors will be open to you. So
mhm,
just ask. God didn't ask us to have like super big faith. He is just
mm.
asking us to have like the faith of a mustard seed.
Mustard seed.
Yeah, as little as that,
Mm-mm.
trying at times where you don't feel like praying, you pray in one sentence. You don't feel like reading the verse, you read one verse. You never know like that particular verse will really speak life to you. So yeah.
Mm. Yes, and in addition to what she said, if you know someone who, you can talk to, someone that you know that's a Christian or is in church, you can always approach that person. And even there are people who would say that I don't know how to pray. I don't know how to start to pray. Go to your room just on your own and start talking to God like a friend. Tell him everything that's inside your heart. Rant, vent, shout, scream, cry. He will definitely hear you. He will listen to you. He will look at your heart. He's always looking at you. So thank you very much, Miss Yvonne, for your time and your
You're most
wonderful
welcome.
testimonial. And to our viewers, next week we have another two guests. One is from the United States, a friend of mine. Another one is from the Philippines. So stay tuned for the schedules. The premieres will be in my YouTube channel. So if you want to, listen to more stories from different people, real stories from real people, the first-hand experience that they have from God, subscribe and like to our YouTube channel, and we will give you updates. Once again, to those viewers, thank you very much. Stay safe. Be always safe. Keep on praying.
Yes.
Keep on holding that faith in God. Keep on trusting Him. And we will see you next week.